Okay, so here we have the turbo light bar that goes on the hood of an 80 to 81 Turbo Trans Am. Not all the 80s had them. They were left out. I don't think they had them ready to build yet, or not as many. If yours isn't working, there's a few different things you can check to see why it's not working. You have the normal position that'll be on all the time when you start the key. As you get on the gas, the medium should work, and then as you floor it and the boost builds higher, you should have the last light lit. And the pressure sensors that make these two go on are on the intake manifold. And they have it's a ground connection that makes it work. When the pressure reaches the set pressure, I think it's 6 or maybe higher than 6 for each one, the low pressure and the high pressure. They'll connect the ground. The ground will go back to the switch inside the car, which is high, low, and off. And the high makes it bright, and the low makes them dim. I guess if you're driving at night, you don't want these three lights hitting you in the face, so you can dim it, or you could just turn them off altogether with the switch. Some of the reasons why they might not work, aside from the bulbs being bad, which is very easy to check, could be a bad fuse, or possibly bad wiring. That could be, anywhere. It could be under the console where the switch is. That's a matter of tracing it out or jumping something. The other thing could be is they're connected by some different wires. There's 6 wires in here and 3 lights. So you have your 3 grounds that operate each one. So there's a ground here, a ground here, and a ground here. Then you have your regular 3 wires for the power. But in here, there's 6. And what happens is these wires, they make a U-turn and come right back underneath. So you can see there's 2 of each, just making a U-turn from the top to the bottom, top to the bottom. And what happens there is the wires that are feeding this plug-in connector are dark green resistance wires. And they come in a connector, but mine are broken. So there's 3 of them, but the other one's on the side. And usually they get brittle. And when they get brittle, they crack. And I'll show you, they're not regular wires. This is what they are. Let me see if I can point. Okay, this here is just a strength member to keep it firm. This little one, this is the actual wire, and it's spun around this nylon filament. It's just spun the entire length of the wire, as far as it goes to the wiring harness in the engine compartment. And the amount of wire creates resistance, which would lower the voltage from 12 volts down to whatever they're using. I'm not too sure if it's like 7 volts or less than 7 volts to make the lights dim. But these wires, these 3 wires, they end up hitting 1 wire in the engine compartment. So if you undo the loom and the tape, you'll see that there's 1 wire meeting all 3. They're crimped. Looks like there's some solder on them. And then they have tape, and they make their way to the light, to the connectors. Mine were broken, so what I did was I removed them from the harness, from the connector, and then I took some 18 gauge wire and a resistor, and I soldered them together as good as I can. I put some heat shrink sleeving on. Then I purchased some connectors, which are the same as the ones in here. I'll get a picture of it if you want. Terminals female 56 series .250 terminal 10 pieces from American Auto Wire. They had I think they had the best price for the amount, so I just ordered it from them. And then you can get yourself one of these crimpers. So what I did was I made the piece. I made a length, so it was the 18 gauge to the resistor, then the resistor to the crimp. Heat shrunk it, I wrapped it, and then I went under the hood and I taped them to that one wire. And now all I have to do is I inserted them into the plastic connector, and all I have to do is just plug them together, and when I finally have power to my car, hopefully they'll work. I didn't come up with the idea of fixing it. That was from the 301 Garage Forum. There was a member, I believe his name was White Red Black 81, a base car, and he was the one that came up with the resistor size. Let's see what the size says. I'll show a picture of this later. It is 20 ohms by, well, I don't even know what that means because I'm not an electronics guy, but this is where he got it from, DigiKey, and that's the code number, and that's the size. I'm kind of big, made in Mexico, great. So I think a lot of the problems are the resistance wire, like I said, cracks, and then people, you know, they don't understand why one of the wires isn't working or whatnot. So I'm gonna go under the hood and I'll take a picture of what's going on under there. It's just simple, it's just a wiring harness connection. And then I'll put some links up to the diagram of how the current flows. What happens is like I said, the resistance wire is going to drop down the pressure. The resistance wire is going to drop down the voltage, and the reason why these are looped is because there's a diode, I believe, closer to the switch under the console. There's a diode that stops the voltage from back feeding to the other light bulbs through the switch. Otherwise it would just be a continuous voltage, and it might even maybe make more voltage, I'm not sure. But the diode makes the voltage stop from the wrong direction. It only goes in one direction flow, so anything that's getting fed back, I believe, will stop flowing. It's kind of interesting to see the in the diagram, because it's the legend shows that there are arrows, and the arrows show the direction of the flow. So we'll take a look at that at the end of the video. Now my turbo light bar was badly damaged when I bought the car, and they're kind of expensive. There's one person on the internet who actually recreates it out of the same material, if not better. It's a plastic, it's an orange plastic, and he had some people make it up. His looks really, really good, and I think for the time and amount of work he put into it, the price is, I think the price is kind of fair. You know, nobody wants to spend a lot, but if you want something that looks original, he's the one who has it. You could also have other people, I think TTA Performance, he also has a plate. He could put lights in it with a turbo boost gauge, not gauge, boost controller, and that's a nice thing to have if you want to, you know, adjust your boost levels. And he has some plates that look pretty nice also. Or you could just get a block off plate, drill holes in it, and get the air coming in if you like that. Many years ago on my first one, I made my own lights and my own plate, and I hooked it up to the carburetor, so every time you stepped on the throttle, the lights would go on the further you pressed. Mine was cracked. I did some patching work. You can see it's not the prettiest, but no one's going to see under it. I painted it. What was it, like satin black. I bought the letters, stuck the letters on. Did the best I could on cleaning up the orange lights. Like I said, the plastic, the whole thing is really orange right here. This is the whole color of the whole thing. It gets painted. So I'll show you some pictures of what mine looked like before I glued it back together. And gluing it back together, I used CA glue and baking soda. And let me tell you something, don't get it stuck to your finger, because that stuff will stick to you and burn. It creates a heat, and it becomes like plastic. You can make your own plastic pieces with that, and that's what I did. So some of this I don't even have the piece for. I just made it with the CA glue and built it up. Hopefully the temperature under the hood won't melt it. So I'll also throw in some pictures of my broken one and show you how that looks. Okay, so we're under the hood now, and these 3 green wires would be my dark green resistance wires, and then they match the tan, purple, pink wires. Remember, they made the U-turn in the 6-pin connector. So these 3 are going to go to generally 1 wire coming off the low switch inside the console to make the lights dim, and these 3 would be going to the high switch to make the lights their regular normal 12-volt brightness. And then you have, and I think the diagram shows you certain colors. They might have changed them up, but this would be the ground, I believe, that's connected to the light bar. And even though the colors are different than what it shows, they're just working on connecting the ground to make the lights go on. I have to add more wire loom and some more harness tape, but here they are. I'm gonna put a loom and tape these up. I have to tape this. This is all brittle. It all fell apart. Let's see, here it goes. So here they are. Here they join up. I gotta fix this. This is the old loom. They go this way. They go this way, and I believe right about here. So you can tell where it's coming from. It comes out of that large harness right there. It comes out of the bottom of it, I believe. That's maybe right underneath here it's coming from. And then it goes, one might go that way and one goes back to the switch, which would be inside the car. I don't know what the hell these things are. This is a ground, I believe, right here. That's a ground. And this, yeah, these are all grounds. And this is for the exhaust, I think, the oxygen sensor. Anywho. So right here is where the 1 wire meets the 3 resistance wires, and that must have been interesting to watch them splice that up, because like I said, it was a tiny, tiny wire inside the 3. And then it just comes up, goes to this clip. If I can even get it in, you get the idea. It's just a clip. And you get the idea. So I'm going to have it go there, and then it'll go right to the bar. And basically, that's all there is to it. I still have to put my turbocharger on. There's my water hose. I got my turbo oil feed. Let's see what else. That's where the turbo's going to go there into that hole. Distributor's not hooked up. Carburetor's not on. Front of the engine. We're getting there slowly but surely. It's got to get all the parts. Surely. Just got to get the. I want to get newer belts and newer hoses. And there's a lot of rust, a lot of broken parts. I need new brake lines, but eventually it'll be running. That's all I'm looking for, is just to get the car running again. And that's about it. Any questions, I could try helping you out. Otherwise, most of the stuff I get, the answers I get, are from the 301 Garage Forum, which is it's a great place. They have a lot of knowledgeable people there. All right, next time we'll get something different.